Good evening, everyone. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. All right, good. Appreciate everybody coming out this evening. I'm Chief Dwayne Preston, City of Bowie Police Department. With me this evening, I have Acting Deputy Chief Robert Liberati. In the back, I have Acting Captain John Knott, Corporal David Redmond, Lieutenant Sean Swartz, and many of my staff. I have my Public Information Specialist, Andre Jones, here as well. So the purpose of this meeting is for me to provide first an update to the residents here in the city of Bowie in reference to the non-contact officer-involved shooting that we had on September 12th. We will also have a regularly scheduled Community Matters meeting that just happened to coincide with this night, because every month, if you don't know, since January, I hold a Community Matters meeting on the fourth Wednesday of every single month. So this meeting was already previously scheduled, but I think it's important to provide an update to the community as it relates to where we are with the investigation and also the process that is being followed. So I will read the statement that I issued on Monday for those that may not have seen it when it was posted. And after that, a presentation will go through and take a few questions. We'll take a break at that point. And then we will get back into the regularly scheduled Community Matters meeting. I also want to acknowledge the Principal Deputy to our Honorable State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy. Jason Abbott is here with us this evening as well, so I appreciate his attendance. So I'm going to read the statement that I posted Monday. So it says, "Dear Bowie community members, as part of my commitment to transparency, I am providing an update to our initial press release regarding the incident involving a Bowie police officer on Collington Road, Maryland 197, and out eastbound John Hanson Highway, US Route 50, on the morning of September 12, 2024. Sergeant Robert Warrington, a 12-year veteran of the City of Bowie Police Department, was on patrol in the area and stopped to assist with what he thought was a driver stranded on the left shoulder of Collington Road. As Sergeant Warrington walked toward the vehicle, a man approached Sergeant Warrington coming from the opposite side of the street across the median. During a brief discussion, the man walked past Sergeant Warrington, heading toward the passenger side of the vehicle. For reasons that remain under investigation, Sergeant Warrington fired one round from his service weapon. No one was injured, but another vehicle driving by was struck. I know there are a lot of questions still about what occurred. In the spirit of transparency, although no one was physically hurt, we want to assure the Bowie community that we take this matter very seriously. An active independent investigation is being conducted by the Prince George's County Police Department Special Investigative Response Team. This investigation was initiated immediately after the incident. CERT will present their findings directly to the state's attorney's office, who will decide if criminal charges should be pursued. The incident was recorded on both the in-car camera and Sergeant Warrington's body-worn camera. After consultation with the state's attorney's office, the Bowie Police Department will release this video to the public once the independent investigation has been concluded. Sergeant Warrington is on paid administrative leave. The Maryland Police Accountability Act of 2021 established statewide requirements for police accountability and discipline to ensure consistency and uniformity throughout the state in these types of situations. The first step being conducted now is a thorough criminal investigation. After the investigation, this case will also be reviewed by the Prince George's County citizens on the Administrative Charging Committee, and those people have been appointed by the County Executive, Angela Alsobrooks, which will make any disciplinary recommendations based on the statewide police disciplinary matrix. I am committed to transparency, keeping you informed, and ensuring a thorough and objective investigation. And what I go on to say is I will discuss this at the next Community Matters meeting, which is tonight, September 25th, 6 to 8 p.m. Here in the chambers. I want to acknowledge our mayor, Tim Adams, who just came in this evening, as well as Councilwoman Wanda Rogers. I appreciate you all's attendance here this evening. So what I want to discuss this evening is we're going to go through where we are as it relates to the criminal investigation process and the administrative investigation that will, ensue after that. The rest of the agenda is talking about the community matters normal agenda that we will discuss after, I get through that process. So where we are now, there's an independent investigation being conducted by the Prince George's County Police Department CERT team. That process is ongoing. Once that is completed, that will be passed on to the state's attorney's office for action on their part to make a determination whether or not criminal charges will be pursued or not. Okay, so we don't have a time frame on when that's going to be completed at this point. But once we have that information, I'm sure that that's information that will be shared by the state's attorney's office at that point. And this is just a visual depiction from the incident. So the shooting incident occurred. It was passed along to the CERT team for investigation. It goes to the state's attorney's office. It may go to the grand jury who may issue an indictment or decide not to file charges. So that is the process on the criminal side. The administrative process was established by the Police Accountability Act of 2021. Okay, so that law went into effect in 2021, and it established the PAB is also known as the Police Accountability Board, which oversees the Administrative Charging Committee, and then that process. So the process will be, from the PAB oversight. Once we complete the investigation on this case, the Prince George's County Police Department completes the investigation. It will be submitted to the Administrative Charging Committee to determine a finding. And I'll get into more details in the slides. We'll enumerate that later. So the law establishes that each county in the state of Maryland shall have a police accountability board. They appoint civilian members to charging committees and trial boards. And these are all people that are appointed by the county executive, and that's how those people are selected. They receive complaints of police misconduct filed by members of the public, and on a quarterly basis, review outcomes of disciplinary matters considered by charging committees. Each county shall have one administrative charging committee to serve countywide law enforcement agencies and local law enforcement agencies within the county. So the administrative charging committee for Prince George's County, all police departments and all municipalities and locations within Prince George's County are under the authority of the administrative charging committee and the Police Accountability Board for Prince George's County. So there's no separate board. So whether it's Prince George's County Police Department, Greenbelt Police, Bowie Police, we all submit our cases to that one governing board. Okay. A county administrative charging committee shall be composed of the chair of the County Police Accountability Board or another member of the Accountability Board designated by the chair of the Accountability Board. Before serving as a member of an administrative charging committee, an individual shall receive training on all matters relating to police procedures from the Maryland Police Training and Standards Commission. And the Maryland Police and Training Standards Commission, they oversee certification of all police officers in the state of Maryland. On completion of an investigation of a complaint made by a member of the public against a police officer, the law enforcement agency shall forward to the appropriate administrative charging committee the investigatory files for the matter. So what happens is individual departments, not in this case, but in a normal case, if it was just a police misconduct case or allegation, we conduct the investigation in terms of conducting all the interviews of the officers and come up with a determination of findings of fact. That would then be forwarded to the administrative charging committee, who will review that for completeness and objectivity, and then they will come up with a determination, and I'll get into this in later slides, of whether or not that case is sustained, meaning that the officer is found to be involved or guilty of that particular action, and make recommendations of discipline that would then be coming back to me as the chief of police to take action on. And that's explained further in some of the next slides. The committee can request information or action from a law enforcement agency that conducted the investigation, including requiring additional investigation and the issuance of subpoenas. If the police officer is not administratively charged, they will make a determination that the allegations against the police officer are either unfounded, exonerated, administratively charged, or not administratively charged. Those are the findings. They record in writing any failure of supervision that caused or contributed to a police officer's misconduct. So while the conduct may not be something in terms of becomes a violation, but if it's a training standard or something like that we need to improve upon, they make recommendations that we would then incorporate into our training standards to improve upon the performance in the future. The Maryland Police Training and Standards Commission shall develop and adopt by regulation a model uniform disciplinary matrix for use by each law enforcement agency in the state. So consistency in terms of discipline that is levied is consistent across the state because that's been mandated by the Maryland Police Training and Standards Commission. And that is consistent across the state. Each law enforcement agency shall adopt a uniform state disciplinary matrix. Within 15 days after an administrative charging committee issues an administrative charge against a police officer, the chief of the law enforcement agency, that should be me, shall offer discipline to the police officer who has been administratively charged in accordance with the disciplinary matrix. The chief may offer the same discipline that was recommended by the administrative charging committee or a higher degree of discipline within the applicable range of the disciplinary matrix, but may not deviate below the discipline recommended by the administrative charging committee. So what that means is whatever they come back with in terms of the discipline that's recommended, I can either offer that or I can raise it, but I cannot go below what was recommended, okay? If the police officer accepts the chief's offer of discipline, then the offer of discipline shall be imposed. If the police officer does not accept the officer's offer of discipline, then the matter shall be referred to a trial board. Each law enforcement agency shall establish a trial board process to adjudicate matters for which a police officer is subject to discipline. The trial board shall be composed of an actively serving or retired administrative law judge or a retired judge of the district court or the circuit court, appointed by the chief executive officer of the county. So here, that's the county executive. A civilian who is not a member of an administrative charging committee appointed by the county's police accountability board. So it's a 3-person board. What I just read is the second person that will be on that board. And then the third person that will serve on that board is a police officer of equal rank to the police officer who is accused of misconduct appointed by the head of the law enforcement agency. So I will be able to select an officer of equal rank to be able to serve on that trial board. A chief or a chief's designee may suspend a police officer without pay and suspend the police officer's police powers on an emergency basis if the police officer is charged with a disqualifying crime as defined in 5-101 of this article. And you all have access to the full police accountability law so you can read it up. These are only excerpts that I pulled out for the purpose of this meeting. A misdemeanor committed in the performance of duties as a police officer or a misdemeanor involving dishonesty, fraud, theft, or misrepresentation. A police officer who was suspended without pay under the subsection is entitled to receive back pay if the police officer is found not guilty of the criminal charge or charges on which the suspension was based. Criminal charges or against the police officer result in a finding of not guilty, acquittal, dismissal, or it's null pros. So if we do suspend an officer without pay and then they're found not guilty, then they're entitled to back pay. The chief shall terminate the employment of a police officer who is convicted of a felony. The chief may terminate the employment of a police officer who receives a probation before judgment for a felony or is convicted of a misdemeanor committed in the performance of duties as a police officer, a misdemeanor related to domestic violence, misdemeanor second-degree assault, or misdemeanor involving dishonesty, fraud, theft, or misrepresentation, okay? If you would like to scan the QR code, this takes you directly to the full police accountability legislation. It's quite lengthy, and it deals with many more things than just the Police Accountability Board. But the information that I shared this evening came from that law, as again, that I said was passed by the legislature and enacted in 2021. So that lays out both the criminal and administrative process as to where we are. I think it's important that our community is aware of the process that we abide by, and that's in all cases of discipline. So it's not just in instances of officer-involved shootings. There's not always a criminal investigation, obviously, but any complaint filed by a citizen against a police officer follows this administrative charging committee process, okay? So what I'd like to do is to take a couple questions from the community. Just be mindful that, as I stated, this case, as it relates to the officer-involved shooting, is still under the investigation. So any specific questions about the status of the investigation, I will not be able to answer this evening. But if you have any questions about the process, I'll be more than happy to answer. Sir?
Just one question. My main question and concern is that no one has said anything about any other type of weapon there. And I don't know if you're allowed to talk about that or not, but that is very concerning to me, that if there was no other weapon, then, you can't necessarily go into all of that. But I really would, and I think the community has the right to know if there was any other type of weapon around that scene.
Sure. And again, that is a matter that is being investigated. It's not appropriate for me to comment on that at this time, but that is something that once we're able to and the investigation is concluded, we make sure that we can provide updates at that point in time. Sir.
How you doing, sir? The question that I have is, as it relates to policy, what is the policy for a police officer to unholster their service weapon and point it anywhere?
So the policy is based upon an officer's determination of a threat, okay? And so, there's no, black or white policy to say when an officer should unholster a weapon and display. So it's based upon rigorous training that we go through, but at the end of the day, it's about the officer's assessment of what they consider a threat that elevates to that level to make the determination of whether or not that level of force. And it's the same thing with any level of force that we utilize. So whether it's something that's less than lethal or whether it's deadly force, it's still something based upon the officer's assessment of the situation and what's appropriate.
I understand. And, I know that the news has covered this, and, I guess the person involved in this whole situation, he was there giving accounts of it. So, again, to the brother's question earlier, I know you guys have seen it, was there a credible threat for him to do that?
Again, we're commenting on the physical events of what occurred. That's what's under investigation. And that's what I read in my statement. What I'm asking is the community's patience, allow the investigative process to play itself out. And then, what we want to do is to make sure at the end of the day that the integrity of the investigation is the paramount thing that needs to occur here. And we want to make sure that that is right for all parties that are involved. And so we don't want to do anything by sharing any information or making any statements that may jeopardize that investigative process. So that's where I'm asking if those that are here, and I don't know if I have any graduates of our Citizens Police Academy class, if they will recall that when we discuss these things in the academy class, this is what I talk about. And I talk about this process. There's not a lot that I could say as the chief of police, and I know it's a common phrase that many people hear, many chiefs say it's under investigation. We say that for a reason because we don't want to jeopardize the process. We realize the sensitivities and the things that have happened throughout this country. We realize the fact that the community, in many cases, may not have trust in law enforcement to be in full disclosure. Okay, but one of the things that, I've been committed to this community, the men and women of this police department committed to this community, and what I'm asking is for your trust and allow the process to work itself through. It is a totally objective, independent investigation. That's why we asked an outside agency to conduct it. We will trust the process and the findings of that. Okay.
Chief, you had said that this man walked past Sergeant Warrington during a brief discussion and then that one shot was fired. Can you elaborate at all on what was said or what took place during that conversation?
Not at this time.
Can you tell us at least how long it was? Brief, a couple seconds, a couple minutes?
It was brief, but that's all I can say.
That conversation after that is when the shot was fired, right?
Again, those are all matters that are under investigation. That's the principal point of the investigation of what occurred in that interaction. So that's information that is currently under investigation.
And to his point earlier, it said there's no black or white policy when it comes to an officer having to pull out a service weapon. In this case, based on what you know so far, was there a credible threat for him to pull out his weapon? Again,
I'm not going to render my opinion. Those are matters that are under investigation, and the conclusions that will be reached will be based upon facts and evidence that are uncovered in the investigation. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Chief, one more thing. I'm from Bowie. I got a state championship at Bowie High School. You know, my parents got a house built in Old Bowie, you know. My father planted, you know, his seeds here, established his roots, and I've done the same thing. I have 5 small children. I was on my way on 197 and had the detour. I didn't know what was going on. My wife, she texted me and said, hey, something going on 197. I'm like, all right, cool. If I leave out my house 30 minutes earlier, I'm on that road. That bullet could potentially hit Jonah, Malachi, Noel, Noah, or myself. And so, you know, as you know, we want to trust the police department. We really do. Y'all who we call when we have issues. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, you're asking us to trust you, but you got to throw us a bone here.
Sure. Well, what I would say to you is this, sir, is that, and I want the community to understand, please don't define this police department one action or one item. We have been faithful to this community. I've been here going on 14 years, okay? If you've been involved with this police department, you know how much we serve this community. You know, and I want to point back to, you know, the fact that, let's go back to the original, the way that this incident started is, you know, I don't want to take away from the fact, and I know it gets lost in what occurred at the end, but understand that Sergeant Warrington stopped to serve. He stopped to help what he thought was a stranded motorist. That is what this police department does day in and day out. So I want our community to understand that we're here to serve this community. And even since this incident and before this, that is what we do, okay? So trust the process, allow the investigation process to play out. You know, that's the only thing I can ask for the community's patience. But, you know, judge us on the things that we do day in and day out, because that is something that the men and women of this police department have earned on every single call for service. We run over 32,000 calls a year, okay? And the number of incidents that we end up having, use of force incidents, are the percentage of that is very low. All of that information can be found if you go to our website. All our annual reports are there. It lays out all of that information in terms of use of force. Quite frankly, you know, this police department, we do far more discipline internally than we even get external complaints from residents. So that shows that our supervisors hold our officers accountable to our policies and procedures. We have a high standard of expectation of how our officers serve our community. That's very important to me. It's very, very important to our council. It's important to you all as residents, okay? We are a police department that are here to serve our residents. Sir.
Piggyback on this gentleman's thing, because I too live right off of 197, and I was actually headed to work, and I passed by the incident. Is there going to be, either you can discuss it now or after the investigation, where there was a gentleman being picked up off the ground by 2 officers? Would that be disclosed too, on why he was on the ground? Is that when, after the shot fired? Because if so, I was there seconds after fire, and it could have hit me as well.
Again, I'm not going to comment on the parties that were involved in the incident. All those parties are being, they are part of the investigation. The investigators are speaking to everyone that's involved in this incident. And once that is concluded, you know, as I mentioned, you know, in the presentation, all of the information will be submitted to the proper channels, first to the state's attorney's office, and then administratively, that process will be handled.
Can you clarify if the man involved has been placed in custody or if he's been charged with anything?
No criminal charges have been placed against him.
And can you also clarify, Sergeant Warrington, he thought it was an abandoned motorist. Was there an abandoned motorist, or was it just an abandoned car? Was the man involved that motorist?
That's what we believe is that there is an association with that vehicle. We know that there were other occupants in that vehicle also at that, you know, we found out after the fact.
But the man involved do you believe he was in the vehicle or separate?
He was not in the vehicle at the time when Sergeant Warrington approached. And so, but that's what was the nature of the encounter. So, and that's what we're trying to investigate. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
If it goes to trial, is the public allowed to be in the courtroom?
That determination is made by, you know, the judge will be overseeing the case. And I'm sure in consultation with the state's attorney's office. Jason, I don't know if you want to address that at all. So.
For the most part, yes. Trials are open.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What is the policy for if a citizen accidentally discharges a weapon?
An accidental discharge?
Yeah, if I was changing my tire on the side of the road and I took my concealed carry off and put it in my truck and I accidentally, it went off and I was to hit somebody else's vehicle, or God forbid a person, would I, would
Similar
there be a
process.
policy for
Similar
myself?
process goes into, we look at intent, we look at negligence, we look at all the different things to evaluate, the circumstances. So the investigation would be initiated to determine the circumstances, and based upon that, a very similar process would go into play.
I
Usually,
get to go home and go back to work?
it depends. So we this routine that even involving citizens, there's many times that we investigate crimes where we will consult the state's attorney's office to determine whether or not charges are warranted. So even involving a citizen, there are many times that an incident may happen that charges may not be filed to a later date. So it just depends on the complexity of an investigation and all of the factors, that are involved in that investigation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions from anyone? All right, I appreciate everyone, coming out this evening for this update. As I mentioned, we'll take a short break and then we'll jump into our community matters meeting that was already scheduled. All right, thank you, everyone.
How specific can you get?
of that being correlated to whatever you want. We're, from my understanding. So if there may be calls for service, right, that was in the past, but when was the call that you put in May? Yeah, so, no, you said, you said that, reports were made before. About
Other incidents.
Okay, so that's
I
what I'm
said
saying.
small things that led up to this,
Okay, so,
a culmination of things that the fire department has escalated to this.
right, so, okay, so I guess what I was saying is that when it happened on the 19th, there was nothing before that said, okay, this is what happened, so it's gonna be a ricocheted to cause this on the. You see what I'm saying?
It's not true. I've come up with about it.
What happened today? Okay, I'll just. Not dispelling what you're saying, but it's all over the county.
All right, if everybody, we want to get reconvene here and jump into the community matters information. All right, so as I mentioned before, every single month since January, I hold a community matters meeting, and the purpose of this meeting is really to for our residents to have an understanding of, this police department, who I am, the men and women that serve you in the community, how we structure, so you have factual information, exactly know exactly how your police department operates. So, we're glad we changed this venue. It was supposed to be in Saddlebrook. I usually like to do it out in the community, and we move it around. But due to the weather and things of that sort, it's best to hold it, here this evening. As I mentioned earlier, I think I'll do it again. I'll introduce the staff that's here this evening. I am Chief Dwayne Preston. I have my acting Deputy Chief Robert Liberati. I don't have him. I don't have that mic any longer. You want me to put it back on? I'll put it back on, Trey. I have Acting Captain John Knott in the back, Lieutenant Sean Swartz, My investigative sergeant, Sergeant Anika Howard. Sergeant John McMaster runs our community services unit. And I also have Miss Una Cooper, who is the Director of Communications for the City of Bowie. And I have Andre Jones, who's the Public Information Specialist. I don't think I missed any of my staff. I don't think we had a slide in there? No, I think we took it out. So usually I have a organizational chart that's inside the PowerPoint, but we're authorized to have 67 sworn officers, okay? That sounds like a lot, but we realize that the city is nearly 50,000 residents, 60,000 residents, and over 20 square miles, and growing. Obviously, all of the developments that are going on throughout the city, especially along 301, and unfortunately, I must mention, we have 10 vacancies. So we authorized 67, but we're down 10, okay? So generally, what that amounts to is we generally have about 4 officers working the city at any given time in a patrol capacity because we have shifts. So officers obviously get days off. We're covering 24 hours a day. We have other officers that are dedicated to investigations and community services. We have 2 school resource officers, one assigned to the main building at Bowie High School and one assigned to the annex. We have other officers that are dedicated to other assignments, not just patrol. So I'll pause and say that, if you have members of the community or people that that are interested in law enforcement, this would be a best place to put them, okay? So they can protect you as residents and help us to serve the community because, we really need the officers to make sure that we can provide the ample service that you all deserve, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about theft from autos because that's what we're dealing with, and we're fortunate that here in the city, we don't have a lot of violent crime, which is a fortunate thing. The city of Bowie is a very safe city. Contrary to some of the comments you may see on social media, we're not immune to crime. What I like to say all the time is that most of our suspects that do commit crime here are not from Bowie. All right, they come from other communities because a lot of the residents here have nice things, nice homes, nice vehicles, and things of that sort. And they come here to victimize our residents, okay? So the residents of Bowie, we have a very wonderful community, and we're working to keep those that are not part of this community out of Bowie, all right? But theft from autos, if you've looked in the news last year, I'm sorry, that's the next slide, I'm getting ahead of myself. So theft from autos, we've seen a spike. What we're seeing from 2022, we had around 150, 160 theft from autos. In 2023, that number spiked to over 250. Now, when I talked about us having people that don't live here that are coming here and victimizing our residents, they come here and what they're doing is, a lot of our residents, and I'm not victim shaming, I've been accused of victim shaming, I'm just trying to educate our residents. A lot of our residents leave their doors unlocked to their vehicles. Okay, and they leave valuables inside the vehicles. So you make yourself an easy target for those that are coming here. Your vehicle's unlocked, they go inside, steal the items of value, and they go on about their way. How many people have a vehicle here that has a key fob with a push to start? All right, a lot of those. All right, you will be surprised, and you'll see it in the next slide. We've actually had people leave their vehicles unlocked with the key fob inside, and their vehicles get stolen, okay? These are things and so our purpose is, again, it's not to shame people. Our job is really to educate our residents so that we can work together to prevent these crimes from happening, being aware, and so you all as residents can look out for your neighbors because who knows best what belongs in the community besides those that live there, okay? What I want you to do is, and I say this every single meeting, is that our job is to come and respond to your needs. So you can't call us too much. So if you see something that doesn't look right in your community, it's okay if you turn out to be wrong. It's okay. It's our job to come figure it out. If someone has a legitimate reason to be in your community, we'll determine that, and they can go on about their way. But if there's someone that is in your neighborhood that's committing harm and should not be there, we need to know about it so we can come and make sure that we deal with that situation. I talked about motor vehicle theft. In 2022, we had a little more than about 120 vehicles stolen in the city. And these are all annual numbers. So in 2023, that number spiked to almost 240. Okay? The main driver in that, and if you paid attention to social media, the TikTok challenges with young people stealing Hyundais and Kias. You remember that with the USB? All right, so that was something that hit all of Prince George's County. We were not immune to that. The manufacturers came out with a fix. So if you have a Hyundai or a Kia vehicle, and you haven't gotten that software update, my advice is to make sure you contact the dealership to make sure that that's installed in your vehicle. It makes it a lot more difficult for them to steal your vehicle, okay? We've done some club giveaways and things of that sort. I don't know if we have any planned here in the near future, but those are things we've also offered to make it a little more difficult for your vehicle to be stolen. One of the things in the current trends we've been seeing is that there's a new target on Infiniti vehicles. So again, to push the start, our suspects are getting pretty sophisticated. They were able to buy one of the programming tools off the internet. And so even if you have your vehicle secured with the key fob, they're able to defeat that and create another key fob, which is allowing them to steal your vehicle. So our recommendation is that if you have a club or something like that as an anti-theft device, my recommendation is that you would put that on your vehicle as a deterrent and make it a little more difficult for them to be able to take your vehicle. One of the other things that I haven't in all my vehicles, so a lot of stuff that I share with you all are things that I do personally, okay? Everyone know what the AirTag is? If you know what an AirTag is, so AirTag is a little device. It's usually tracked by your Apple phone. They make them for other devices as well. They can be put on anything. It's a real small circular device. What I suggest people to do is buy an AirTag, put it inside your vehicle somewhere discreetly. In the event that your vehicle is stolen, you have control of this, not the police. But if we were to respond, you can be able to pull it up real time and it's tracking your vehicle. All right, that aids us greatly in being able to recover your vehicle. We can communicate whether it's in another jurisdiction and try to get your vehicle back as quickly as possible. If not, we also want to make the apprehension of the person that stole your vehicle. But that's something that I recommend that you do. You can buy them off of Amazon, Apple Store, and things of that sort. They're about $20 or $30 per Apple tag, but it's something that I highly recommend. I put them in my luggage when I travel. I put them in everything. So it's just a tracking type mechanism so that you can find your property belongings, okay? All right. As I mentioned, we have a three-pronged approach, through education, prevention, and enforcement. And education and prevention, we're accomplishing that tonight. That's what we've been doing all year, is we're trying to share with you all the trends that we're seeing. We're asking for cooperation to help us to prevent these crimes from happening. So my ask is obviously removing valuables from your vehicle, locking your doors, look out for your neighbors, report things that are suspicious. By doing those things, you help us. We do enforcement. But I am going to be honest with you in that because of our shortages in staffing, our first priority is responding to calls for service, okay? So when you call 911 on the non-emergency number, that is our first priority, is making sure that we address those things first. The proactive patrols are the things that we can do when we don't have to respond to calls for service, okay? And it makes it a little tough sometimes when we have 4 officers working the entire city, as I mentioned, 20 square miles. That pulls us a little thin at times, but our first priority is responding to calls for service. Okay. How to request police service. So obviously for emergencies, crimes that are in progress, if it's an emergency, life-threatening, or someone's actively engaged in some kind of crime, I don't want you to hesitate. We want you to call 911, okay? 911, there's one 911 center in all of Prince George's County. It happens to be here in the city of Bowie, okay, but it serves the entirety of Prince George's County. Some of you all may have heard or seen stories on the news about calling 911 and you get a recording. Has that happened to anybody here? All right. If it happened, so let me just kind of explain some of the circumstances that contribute to that. In this day and time, everyone has a cell phone. Some of us have two, right? So let's say that we're all traveling down the Capitol Beltway or down Route 50, and a major traffic accident happens in front of that. Well, everyone driving by, and we appreciate everyone being good residents and want to help, calls 911 to report the accident. So it's one incident, but that one incident may generate 10, 15, 20 calls for service to 911. that floods the system, every single call to 911 has to be answered, okay? If you get the recording and get frustrated and hang up, that is what they consider a 911 hang up. They don't know if you had a true emergency, if you weren't able to stay on the line, so that generates another call because they have to try to call you back, okay? So that adds to the queue, and listen, everyone is dealing with staffing challenges. They only have but so many call takers, so sometimes the system gets overloaded. So what we did here in the city several years ago is we created a non-emergency communication center. So we dispatch our own police officers here, but what we're also trying to do is to alleviate some of those calls for service going into the 911 center, because the same 911 center also handles the county's non-emergency line. Okay, so if we can, like I said, we do over 32,000 calls for service. So if we can direct most of those calls for service that are non-emergencies here, that's taking the burden off of the 911 center so that true emergencies can be answered timely. All right, and that's for police, fire, and everything else. So it's not just police, the 911 center, it's for police and fire, okay, and medical emergencies. Our non-emergency number is 240-544-5700. Again, 240-544-5700. So the non-emergency is that if it's not an emergency, if it's not a crime in progress, God forbid you wake up, somebody vandalized your car or something like that, or you had lost property, we want you to call the non-emergency number. We'll get an officer out there to address your concern, okay? Now, shorten the version tonight, obviously, because we had the added addition of the information that I addressed at the beginning of the meeting. But the most important part of us getting together is really hearing from you all as the residents and your concerns. That is why we exist. We exist is to make sure that we address your concerns. And so the only way that we can be effective in doing that is hearing from you so that we can make sure that we're able to discuss those things. I have Corporal Dave Redmond here. He's part of our community services unit. They're more dedicated to addressing long-term issues and challenges that we have outside of patrol. Our patrol officers take care of immediate things, but some problems that we have in the city are persistent, and they require an extra level of expertise. So we have a community services unit that are tasked with addressing those issues and concerns. So, any questions from anyone? Concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I have two questions. I understand that South Lake has been sanctioned into the city of Bowie, but some of the services that the Bowie citizens receive, I guess they're not getting. Does the Bowie Police Department patrol South Lake?
Yes,
We do.
100%. Yes,
Okay, you also mentioned that there's a resource officer at Bowie High School.
yes.
My granddaughter attends the Bowie High School, and she tells me about activities, especially the pot smoking, that goes on in the school. Does the resource officer address any of that?
I would talk to him. He was here tonight, but I would talk to him and see. So we kind of work, there's a two-part system in the school system. Obviously we're there to protect the students as well as the faculty. We're not really there to police the school, okay? You have school security officers, then that's their primary responsibility. So we like to defer to them and the teachers and administrators to handle things that happen within school, especially things that are considered to be less serious, misdemeanor level. What we don't want is the SRO is there to be a resource, for the students and the faculty, not to really technically be an enforcer. But he works in concert with the school security. That's something that what I would suggest is you talk to the principal about and make him aware as well as the security staff where it's occurring, and then they can investigate that matter further. But they keep the SRO in the loop as it relates to those occurrences as well.
Chief, can I address that, ma'am? We have actually 3 SROs. We have a 9th grade building on Bel Air Drive, and we call it Annex. We have the main building with the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders on Annapolis Road. I'm the float, I go between the buildings. We don't tolerate smoking. This is a smoke-free city, everything anyway. But if it's brought to our immediate attention, we do address it. One of the problems we do have at the high school is kids eloping. I mean by that is they walking away from the campus. And we do our best to try to make sure that they come back for their safety and for the neighborhood, because if something were to happen to one of them while they're supposed to be in school, and you thinking they're in one of the buildings and they're not, and it poses a great problem for all of us. In the middle of the day, we got just about 3,000 students at Bowie High School. It becomes a city within the city. So we do our best to keep everybody safe, and when it's brought to our attention, we do address it.
Thanks, Dave. All right. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So I want to speak, before I address my concern, or before I present my concern, I want to speak about something you said about the staff.
About staff, okay.
About staff.
Uh-huh.
You said you had a staff of 67, but you have 10 vacancies.
Yes, sir.
You're down to 57 officers. Are there any plans to fill those vacancies? And is 67 enough officers for Bowie? As you mentioned, it's growing. There's 7 communities that are popping up, it's 20 square miles. Are there any efforts or any plans to expand the police department, the Bowie Police Department, beyond 67?
Excellent question. So the answer is yes, we try to fill all the vacancies. And so let me start by saying this. There's a nationwide challenge and shortage of recruitment for law enforcement, okay? Same thing can be said for fire department and everything else. Public service is not something that is as desirable as it once was, for whatever reasons. Here in Prince George's County alone, and I didn't mention this earlier, several of us retired from Prince George's County Police Department. I did, Deputy Chief, Captain, Corporal Redmond, we all came from Prince George's County. They are down over 350 officers in Prince George's County, okay? I'm happy with my 10, okay? But I would say this is that, that we've attended, Corporal Redmond was at Howard University yesterday for a job fair. Tomorrow, I think we're at University of Maryland. We're in New York next week, and Bowie State University as well. All right, so we are actively in recruiting. The challenge is, and one thing is that, I don't sugarcoat a whole lot of different things, but there's a lot of information out here that's causing our young people to not be qualified for the position of police officer. And even though many have a desire to do so, I'm be honest, and I have no issue saying this, I'm not a big fan of the legalization of cannabis for obvious reasons. It is still illegal federally. And in order to carry a firearm, you cannot consume cannabis. And many of our young people, when we ask them questions, they say, oh, well, weed is legal. It's not, okay? It's not, okay? And so what you have to understand, now for the position of law enforcement, and what ends up happening is they get disqualified, okay? So what we want to do is share with, our residents the things that are needed. If you're interested in a position, talk to any of our officers about the requirements. And we'll be honest with you. We'll tell you exactly what you need to do, what you don't need to do, and things of that sort. But you asked about the number of officers that we have authorized is sufficient. The answer is no. In 2022, we did a strategic plan for the police department. We have gotten verbal approval from the council that if we're able to meet the 67 number, that they know that the need is to go beyond that. Okay, our problem is that we can't get to 67. So my first priority is not even to worry about beyond 67. My goal right now is to get to 67. And then we will continue to build, but I believe it's the priority of the council as it relates right now to allow us to continue. Now, we're making some headway. I think that we have, we have a next academy class, and we send all our officers through Prince George's County Police Department's Academy. The next class is the end of November, should be beginning. We have 2 we've already hired. They're waiting to go into the academy. We have 5 slots allotted for that class, and we expect to beat that. But that process is long. The academy is just under 7 months, and then when they graduate, they ride with a field training officer for about another 3 to 4 months. So generally, it's about a year process before we actually see the realization of adding officers to the complement. We also hire lateral officers, experienced officers, which address the need more immediately. But we haven't had a lot of success in attracting those officers. We do offer signing bonuses. So if you are an experienced officer, we're offering a $20,000 signing bonus. If you're just entry level and have no experience, we're offering $15,000 signing bonus. So there are a lot of incentives. That information can be found at the city's website with all of the benefits that are listed. But, you know, we are definitely committed to growing. We realize the development and the growth of the city. We expect that the city, in terms of population, will probably increase over the next 4 to 5 years by 10,000 based upon the developments that are here. We realize we have a need to make sure that we're able to serve the city, and that's something that the council is aware of. Our challenge is just that in this Washington metropolitan area with the multiple agencies between federal, state, and local, all competing for the same number of people, all dealing with shortages, it makes it pretty tough for us to attract candidates. I call him acting deputy chief. He will soon be the deputy chief because our deputy chief we just lost. She, has another job opportunity with another new police department. And we're losing 2 people to that police department that just started. So unfortunately, that is the reality in the profession is that opportunities exist and, it's a challenge.
Understand. So in the meantime, when the Bowie Police Department is overwhelmed with calls, whether it be non-emergency or emergency calls, and they may be happening simultaneously, is there any support relied upon the PG County Police Department to help you out?
Another great question. And I appreciate you asking that. Yes, we have mutual aid agreements with Prince George's County. But oftentimes, I'm gonna be quite honest, oftentimes we have more officers working in the city than Prince George's County has working, and they cover a much larger area than we do. So they really can't afford to help us. We generally run about 99% of our calls for service in the city. We take great pride in making sure that we're able to answer the calls for service here and the call demand here in the city. And we haven't fell below the ability to do that. We're working hard to maintain that level of staffing and to increase it so that we can continue to have that level of service. The same thing with state police. Everybody realizes Route 50 runs through here. There are times when there's not a state trooper available, and they have the luxury to say, hey, call the county or call the city. All right, we don't have that luxury, okay? And so we do the very best we can to make sure that we maintain all the calls for service and able to respond immediately to a call for service.
I don't mean to hijack the meeting.
Sorry.
But if I may, I'd like to address my concern. But before I address my concern, I think I must be transparent that our son, this is my wife, our son is a PG County police officer as well. And he lives there. Right? Before I felt I probably need to say that before I address my concern. Okay. And along this aisle right here, that his neighbors are my neighbors from the community that we live in. And since the pandemic, kind of tailed it off, there's been an increase in criminal activity in our neighborhood. Some of it random, those individuals coming from outside of the Bowie neighborhood, or so I think. And some of it's right there on our street that is committing the crimes and while they reside on our street. And we've called the police several times. The police had to be called several times, whether it be myself or neighbors or other individuals. And the Bowie police show up. However, this is becoming more frequent, and to the point where it escalated last week where we had a drive-by shooting last Thursday night. And that was right out in front of my house. Our house.
Next door to our house, across the street from their house.
All right, understood.
And there was a series of shots and shell casings in my driveway along the street. And Bowie police showed up. And I was expecting to see PG County police. My son was home at the time. His cruiser was parked out in front of the house as it is when he's off duty. I urged my son not to get involved in anything that we got going on in our neighborhood because we all have to live there. So he doesn't really get involved, although he did get engaged because of the shooting. Is there any way, because of the increase in the activity in our community, and I suggested this when my wife's car was broken into in the springtime earlier this year, that someone can roll through our neighborhood in between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And I say that is because some of the activity that's going on is directly across the street from us. Sometimes it's them loitering in the street individuals, a group of individuals loitering in the street at all times of the early morning hours, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, engaging in maybe smoking drugs or drinking and just loitering out. Or selling drugs. It's definitely, the selling drugs has been going on for a while. Okay.
So I would say, you know, and I appreciate you sharing that. I get the request for extra patrols every single meeting, okay? And it's my desire to be able to provide that. But as I mentioned, you know, our staffing is limited. There are 4 officers working the entire city. As I mentioned, yeah, our first responsibility is answering calls for service. So proactive patrols are left where we don't have the calls for service. I mean, you are speaking too quiet. I think you all know this. Now, Lieutenant Schwartz is one of our patrol commanders who's here this evening. So I'm sure he will relay that information back to his patrol troops that in the overnight hours, and we're fortunate here in the city is that, you know, our calls for service volume is not as heavy overnight, thankfully, because most of our residents are asleep, so we appreciate that. So it does afford us a little more opportunity to do patrols. So we would do our best to make sure that we adjust patrols to make sure we pick up in the D section there to try to abate that. Now, some of the things you talk about in terms of activity, the best way to do that, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So the best thing to do is to call us when it's happening, so that way we can get out there and address it, okay? That's the best way. As I mentioned earlier, where you all live, you know best your neighborhood and the things that occur there. And so the best way, you know, for us to, you know, get there to investigate those things is that if you see something, say something. I know everybody's familiar with that saying, but you got to call us. That way we can get out there and address it, okay? And we'll work with you. Now, we also have our community services unit, as I mentioned. They deal with the long-term issues. And that's what this sounds like, is something more than just for patrol to deal with. So I'm gonna ask Sergeant McMaster's in the back right here. Sergeant, if you can raise your hand so that you know. Please speak with Sergeant McMaster after this so that he can let you know who your community services officer is. That way you have a direct line of communication to make sure that, you know, you stay in the loop and we can work collectively on that issue, okay?
Chief, we are aware of the latest in that situation, and we will get on it.
Okay, all right. And I know that, you know, Sergeant Howard, you know, her investigators are aware of the incident. They're investigating that as well. So any updates that she has, you know.
I was going to say, can you speak to any updates on the particular investigation?
I will leave that to her. Maybe it's something she may want to talk to you all privately after the meeting and not doing this, you know, publicly, okay? All right. All right. Any other questions? Sir?
Yes, you all have a plan, because I know they had recently where emails been going out where they having threats on the schools.
Yes.
And what are any positions planned far as any, if there was any active shooting in the schools, what kind of procedures do you all have in plan for that?
Well, I'm not going to share what our procedures are publicly, okay? Know that we have a very well-trained staff. We had that incident occur, I believe it was 2 years ago, where we thought we had an active shooter incident at the high school. You know, I was one of the first people there. I was a deputy chief at the time. Let me back up. So the threats, we deal with the director of school security. So all of the schools, the public schools here are Prince George's County schools. So Prince George's County is the primary. I mean, we provide assistance in terms of school resource officers, but we communicate with them often. We all recognize and we all received and we're aware of the threats. Sergeant Howard is also our liaison with the county's Homeland Security Unit. They are aware of those threats. We do not believe that those threats resonated or came from this area. We believe it was somewhere, it was, you know, over multiple states that those came from. So we don't believe it was any credible threat to any schools here in Prince George's County. But that is something that is communicated. The primary means of communicating that to you all as parents, that responsibility comes from the school system, okay? So they're the ones that should be communicating with the parents of the students that attend the schools in terms of what actions have been taken and result of, you know, any of the, you know, threats and things of that sort. But that would not necessarily come from us. That comes directly from the school system. All right. Yes, ma'am.
The voting polls, there has been information circulating online about possible threats that could take place during, what is it, November the 5th is when they vote? So I guess with that information possibly, do you know how they're gonna handle the voting polls in Bowie? Are they gonna provide more police officers, security?
So it's a combined effort. Sheriff's Department has a primary responsibility, for security at polling locations. However, in the city of Bowie, we do cover some of the locations that we have here within the city. What I would say is we're also a member of the Council of Governments. I had a call with the police chiefs in the region. So that's Maryland, D.C., and Virginia this morning. That was a topic of discussion that was there. Strategies are put in place. That information is being communicated. Some of the things I'm not going to obviously share and talk about publicly. But just I want the public to have confidence that we are aware and that steps will be taken to make sure that there's security at the polling locations. Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make one statement and ask a question to the grandmother over there who was talking about her grandchild who goes to Bowie High School. We have 3 children, 2 graduated from Bowie High School and 1 is still there. The principal, the staff members, they all do a great job at trying to maintain order, but all 3 of our boys have also said that kids are in the bathroom smoking weed and fighting and doing that sort of thing. I think one of the problems is probably maybe because they're short-staffed, they have a hard time, the security officers or the resource officers, they can't walk around and manage it. But the other problem is the kids don't want to be snitches at that age. So they'll come home and tell us, but they won't tell the teachers and they won't tell the administration. So I don't think that there's much they can do about it, unfortunately, unless they report it while they're in the school. Because I said to our son, we go tell. He's like, I'm not going to snitch. I'm not going to say anything. I just won't go in that bathroom. But is it illegal for the staff members to enter the restrooms? Because that's what I was told some years back.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The teachers cannot, without problem, really, it's a fight now, because we can go in for that, but to randomly walk in the bathrooms at the schools, they're frowned upon.
Right.
And that's not our city of Bowie thing. It's a Prince George's County thing. And again, he was explaining, the chief was, that the schools are manned by Prince George's County. The security personnel in the schools are Prince George's County employees and picked by them to lead it. And the principal at every high school sets the kind of tone as to what's to be accepted with the staff. So a lot of that has to go back on them.
Right. Yeah, and they do a good job. I mean, they do what they can do. I remember when I was a kid, they smoked weed in the bathroom too, so there's only so much they can do. And I said it's acceptable, but I guess they also have to pick their battles, but anyway.
Yeah, comment on, you mentioned with the break-ins and the thefts of vehicles, I know you mentioned sometimes it's that people aren't locking their vehicles, and I understand that, but we had some break-ins in our neighborhood a couple of years ago, and our vehicle was broken into not because we lock it every night, because they have devices that can steal a signal off the key fob if you leave it near your front door. And I don't know if there's enough education going out there to let people know to also a low-cost measures to buy a Faraday box and put your car keys with that, into a box so they can't steal the signal as well.
And the garage door openers also.
Garage door openers too.
And I think I mentioned something about that earlier about, devices that can steal the signals and things.
Oh, okay.
Target infinities and things of that sort. So, I suggest all of that. I mean, listen, criminals are very resourceful in this day and time. I think that we all have individual responsibility to make sure that we do all we can to secure, everything that you have, whether it's your credit cards or whether it's your key fobs, locking your doors. There are many different things that we have. So, I agree.
I have just 2 questions that I wanted to ask. One, by the way, was also to say thank you for we did get the steering wheel lock from you all, so thank you for that campaign. The one question about that, I'm just curious, do you have any stats or data around, in terms of the vehicle thefts, around how successful the department is with finding who's doing this and arrests or getting property back? And then a second question to piggyback off of the school question posed. Do you all have any input into how the school staff and students are trained in terms of a violent critical incident at the school? And what in terms of how the students are to respond, how they're trained, what protocol that they use and train the staff and teachers with. Do you all have input on that?
So the second question, I would direct, or ask you to direct that question to the particular school staff. We don't really have any control over that. Again, these are Prince George's County schools, so all of that is mandated by Prince George's County. All right. As it relates to statistics relating to theft from auto and stolen vehicles, property crime, the solvability rates for that is very low. Okay. Unless we have, suspect information, most time we don't. By the time you wake up the next morning, you realize a crime has occurred. There's no video, no evidence. The solvability rates are very low. Now, it batches at times. If we're fortunate enough to catch someone in the act, maybe get in a pursuit, catch someone in the act of it, that happens from time to time, but not as frequently. And we're limited also, by policies and procedures. Property crimes we're not allowed to pursue. So sometimes we'll get a vehicle that someone is actively tampering with, stolen, and may flee from one of our officers, but our officers are not allowed to pursue, even if it's a stolen vehicle. And so we have to terminate that pursuit. And unfortunately, that's a safety issue for, residents and everyone involved. It is a property crime. So,
I do have a question. Could you clarify what is the legal right of someone to smoke marijuana on a public street? For example, parked in front of the house, smoking.
It's illegal. So the legalization of cannabis, the only legal place for you to smoke is inside of your residence. All right? Inside the four walls. That doesn't even mean on your property. So back on your back deck where you chilling, it's legal. All right? Inside your four walls is the only legal place for you to smoke cannabis. All right? So if you're in the backyard, it's illegal. If you're in front of your house, it's illegal. If you're in your vehicle, it's illegal. Okay? But it's decriminalized. All right? So it is not a criminal violation. It is not something that you're going to get arrested for. It's a citation. All right? So it is decriminalized. All right?
Thank you.
Yes. Questions? Other questions? I want to give our communications director, Spooner Cooper, an opportunity to come up and talk to you all about some ways that you all can stay informed of things that are going on in the city. Spooner?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for being here. I realize I am not the reason you came tonight, so I'm going to keep this very, very brief. I'm here to promote Alert Bowie, which is our text and email alerting system. We use it in emergency situations. We also use it for traffic alerts to tell you what's going on in Bowie, whether it's a service interruption or events. So I would encourage you, if you have not signed up, to do so. You can do it tonight. There's forms out in the lobby. You can take one of these cards that I have here, take it with you. You can scan the QR code. However you want to do it, we just want you to do it. Can I just see a show of hands in this group? How many people have it already? Gold stars. Okay, I'm preaching to the choir here for the most part. Thank you very much. So I'm the communications director. So Alert Bowie is one of the ways we use to communicate. The other is social media, and that is really one of our most immediate and active ways we communicate. We also make sure everything we are communicating is on our website. So I encourage you to check there for things. We have a government channel, we do videos, we do newsletters, a weekly and a monthly one. So however, we know different people get their news different ways, but we're trying to reach you all. If you have any suggestions about how to reach you better, then let me know afterwards. And then the last thing I'll say is, and you're doing it already, but get involved and stay involved with your community. There's a variety of ways you can do that. The city has 16 different volunteer committees on all kinds of different subjects, and it's a great way to give back to your community, to connect with your neighbors and other communities within Bowie, and also to learn about really the city from the inside a little bit. You can also become a mentor of high school kids. We have a really great mentoring program at Bowie High School where the mentors meet with the kids once a week, have lunch with them, and really establish a bond through a whole school year and sometimes for multiple school years. We have a program called Neighbors Helping Neighbors that helps people in need within the community. We also have a green team. If you have kids that might be interested in a law enforcement path later on, we have a Police Explorers program. So we're trying to get kids young and keep them involved and engaged. So those are just some of the ways you can get involved, but keeping up to date with what's going on in the city will also give you more ways to learn about that in the future. So thanks for the 2 minutes, and we'll be out there if you haven't registered yet.
Thanks, Una. I want to, now, trustees, we do a lot of community outreach programs that we offer, Citizens Police Academy, we have Police Explorers. We do numerous community events like Shop with a Cop, National Night Out, things of that sort. Corporal Janet Dollar, always call her the General. She is the one that oversees all of those programs. And we have a couple of our graduates as well that went through our Citizens Academy. It's probably one of the best programs I think that we put on, here throughout the city. And it really, really gives you an insight into the inner operations and the workings of the police department. If you have questions about how your police department operates, the policies, the procedures, some of the things we talked about earlier, in terms of involved shooting, a lot of those questions will actually be answered by you going through the Citizens Academy, and you actually get to experience a lot of those different things. We put you in a lot of similar situations and simulations and things of that sort, and you get to experience it exactly. So you kind of understand what it's like to be in a profession. And many of them go on to serve and help us at community events and serve as volunteers. When we had the various community events, they become part of our family. So, we couldn't do the mission that we do without them. So I'm gonna ask Corporal Dollar to come up and talk about those programs.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening. All right, so I'm gonna talk about some fun stuff, okay? So I know you guys been so serious earlier, but now I'm gonna talk about community engagement. A little bit different from what we talked about earlier. So I'm Corporal Dollar. I'm with the community service team. This is my sergeant. So I know Bowie Police Department is known to do a lot of community engagement. All right, so that's what we do. That's what our team does. So we have upcoming events. I know we talk about the Citizens Police Academy. I have actually a couple here that graduated from one of the sessions. We are on the session 11 now. 12, actually, 12. And it's gonna we're gonna schedule it around winter. Okay, so if you know what we talk about, probably you guys hear about transparency more than a few times already tonight. So we're gonna offer the class around winter. It actually show or pretty much discuss what how we operate on daily basis, what resources do we have, what cases do we investigate, and we actually have a lot of speakers coming from different agencies as well. Sheriff Department will be in the class, Department of Corrections, PG County Detectives will be in class too, just to give you guys a brief overview of what they do, okay? Some cases here that happens actually in Bowie, PG County still come and investigate that in some cases. All right, so if you're interested, hit me up or talk to me after. I'll give you my business card. So just to give you like a quick overview, Citizens Police Academy is a 13-week course, okay? It sounds long, okay, but it's not. It's actually a lot of information every night. So we have different instructors that come in every Tuesday. So, okay, so it's from 6 to 9 p.m. here at City Hall. When you, after 13 weeks, you graduate, and then you become our volunteers. All right, so that's gonna be our go-to. Okay? So every time we have a community engagement, we ask for help. Because we can't do it alone. We need your support. All right, so every time we have community engagement, we ask for volunteers if you guys can help us out. And we really, truly appreciate your help. And I know we have Coffee with a Cup. Okay? Coffee with a Cup. It's actually the National Coffee with a Cup Day. That's gonna be on October 2nd, Wednesday, Starbucks at Free State. Okay, if you guys have any questions that weren't answered today, or you didn't ask, or if you forgot, we will be there at Starbucks, okay? It's from 10 a.m. to 12, okay? That's October the 2nd. And October 11th, we have Faith and Blue. So we're looking for 15 in need families that we're actually gonna give groceries, okay? So we're gonna provide them some groceries to kind of like help them a little bit, you know? We get our list from Bowie Pantry, Youth Family Services, and other schools. Okay, that's our theme for Bowie Faith and Blue for this year. And then after that, we have Purple Bike Ride. If you want to register, it's actually an event ride. Those are for domestic prevention awareness, okay? And then we have, after that, we have, help me out, Sarge.
Shop with the cop. Shop with the cop.
Shop with a cup. Yes, shop with a cup. Right, that's our big thing, shop with a cup. I need you guys for that. All right, I need you guys because last year we actually have 80 kids that we help out. So for those that you guys that don't know, this is actually a program for less fortunate families. Okay, every kid received $100 gift card. We take them to shopping. You know, they're gonna be with the officers. They will take them to shop around in Target or Walmart, wherever we decided this year. And then we feed them, give them lunch, and we have plenty activities for them to do that day. And we actually provide, on top of $100 gift card, we give them a bag of toys. So really, if you guys have extra cash out there, we'll be accepting donations soon. So if you need more information, it should be on our website soon. Toys for Tots as well. We're accepting any new toys unopened. If you have kids at home that have new toys and they don't want it, please, you know, we accept donations for that as well. And talking about kids, teenagers who have teens at home, 14 to 20, all right? We have mentoring program. I called it mentoring program, okay? So it's every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. They get community service hours as well. Every time we go to like community engagement, they're with me. Those kids that wearing yellow t-shirts, those are my explorers. They get community engagement and they actually get back to their community. Okay? You know, PG County, they require 24 hours to graduate now. Those are the best opportunity to actually get their community service officers. And they actually get to know us, like the person behind this uniform, okay? They're exposed to us. So that's a great opportunity for them to actually get their community service hours. Drug take back, for those of you that have expired pills or prescription drugs, it's gonna be on October 26th. That's Saturday from 10 to 2 here at the station. So just bring your drugs, prescription drugs. No questions asked, right? No questions asked, just drop it, boom. No questions. So that's gonna be on October 26th, Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. And then after that is trunk or treat, October 30, 30. Yes. So that's Wednesday. So we're actually looking for vendors. If you want to participate and have your car there, decorate your trunk, give away candies, you're more than welcome to join us. It's going to be at the Bowie Town Center. All right, and that's from 5 to 7. And I think that's all I have. But if you guys have any questions, I'm going to invite a few graduates here to speak about their experience for the Citizens Police Academy. Yes, sir.
Are your volunteer opportunities limited to those that live in actual in incorporated Bowie?
Nope.
No.
We are, yep. We welcome everybody. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for any of you three. There was last November 28, 2023, there was a community forum on rising juvenile crime. Were you there?
The one at Bowie State?
Yes, exactly right. It was very well attended. If people in the room, it was extremely well attended, and I was there from start to finish. And it was very crowdsourced on what does the community think are solutions for it. and it was multi-government level, right? What do you think are there any shortcomings in statute that tie your hands, is the city police force, that, maybe the county has, for example, the smash and grabs from retail stores? In some municipalities or states, they find that the threshold is so high that people will make a point of just stealing $50 under what the level is of what they can steal, so they have to raise it. Or are there age minimums that you're just not getting someone to?
So I
What are some
appreciate the question.
statutes, changes in law solutions we could?
So the state laws are the same for all of us, whether it's the state, county level. So we all enforce the same laws that exist. But we have a good, strong working relationship with our state senator, Ron Watson, his wife, Councilwoman Ingrid Watson. He was the one, and the two of them was the one that organized the event at Bowie State. I know that some of the issues surrounding some of the juvenile issues were addressed in the legislature. And those are things that have been well documented. Some of the underage, some of you all may have seen recently on the news, there was a young man who was breaking into a lot of car dealerships up in Montgomery County. He was underage and they couldn't charge him. Those are challenges that exist based upon the law. So because he was under the age where he could be criminally charged. So those are things that we continue to work with the legislature to try to address. I know that, even with retail theft, trying to aggregate all of those thefts, and we can prove that they're responsible for multiple crimes, even in different jurisdictions, to be able to aggregate and bring those together to be able to charge those persons. So we continue to work with the senator on those issues and address those things, but nothing specific other than that that's already well known that we're already working on.
Thank you. Question, I'm sorry. Do you anticipate a rise in crime after this election, this upcoming election?
I don't even know who will win, so I don't know. I hope not.
I'm getting my house ready, but I don't know.
Look, I hope not. No, we don't want to see rising crime. I think
I know we don't.
Yeah, we want to see crime reduction. So that's what we're working toward. Sir.
Do you think if y'all reduce the amount of speed cameras we got around here, you can get your 10 officers?
So it's a good question. That's usually part of the presentation that we give, because I give a true accounting of speed cameras, and I want to make sure we address some of the misnomers with speed cameras. So speed cameras don't cost the city money, okay? And so that really has, I'm sorry?
It costs me money.
Well, I can't, look, so let me, and on a serious note, let me say this about speed cameras. And so we educate people on exactly the thresholds. We don't have a got you program here. We are fully transparent. Usually I break down and have every location, the number of violations that exist. We tell you where they are in advance. We get ready to have a rotation on October 1st. I put it out 10 days in advance and tell you, this is where we're moving the cameras. So if you get a citation, shame on you. Okay, so, all right, so, but I'm gonna be honest, and the way, the real thing is that great majority, if not all of you all are residents that live here in the city. So I want to make sure and make it personal to you. If you live on a residential street and you have small children or family members that you all like to walk, speed limit is 25 miles per hour, okay? The camera law, you don't get a citation until you're going at least 12 miles per hour off. So can you imagine your street, someone coming down your street doing, at that case, to be 37 miles per hour. Do you think that's excessive? I do, okay? So all I ask our residents to do is just slow down. And you don't have to worry about getting a citation, okay?
I was just trying to make life.
No, I'm just saying, but I want everyone to fully understand the purpose of our cameras. Yeah. Our cameras, the purpose is that it does cost the city money. That's the goal. And if it starts to cost the city money, then that means that it's working. Because that means the number of violations are coming down and that people are in compliance and people are driving safer. At the end of the day, we want safer roads here in the city. It's not about making money, but those are things that we expanded the camera only on residential streets. So we had the existing school zones, but the law expanded to residential streets where the speed limit is no greater than 35 miles per hour. And so in all of those locations are based upon complaints that we get, speed studies that we do, where we have chronic issues of speeding. And that's how we determine those locations or where we deploy.
I'm in the M section, I'm sorry. I'm in the M section on Mallory Lane, and people blow through there all the time.
Right.
I put my basketball court out that me and my kids play on, and it deters, because people see a basketball court, oh, it's probably kids out here. So, I've been fine for leaving that outside overnight, but is there something maybe I need to do to try to get maybe a camera or a slow down, coming through here, besides just having a green turtle on the side?
So we have signs that are deployed by Public Works Division, the slow down signs. But as it relates to a speed camera, you can send us a request. We have a traffic management work group that evaluates locations, and that's how we determine. So it's partnership between Police Department and Public Works to look at and evaluate locations. There's a lot of factors that go in there. I'm not going to bore you all with that to determine whether or not a location meets the standards for a speed camera. But those are things that we work toward. But you can submit the request, and we can evaluate it and see if it's conducive. Yes, ma'am.
The stop sign cameras.
Yeah.
I know you sent out a list of where that they were going to be. There was one on Ken Hill and Stony Brook.
They're all gone. It was only a 30-day trial. So they're all gone. What we're doing now, the next steps is that we will evaluate the results of the information that we were able to collect and to determine to see, how effective they were. And that's something that, we'll have a discussion with the city council about whether or not that's a resource that we would consider using in the future. But right now, there was only a 30-day pilot program, but that's ended. Okay. Yes, sir.
Just to follow up on that. Pointer Ridge and Parkington, those people, they come through that stop sign like it's not there. I mean, daily, all day long.
Right.
And so I was happy to see that camera was going down there because it's a bunch of kids down there. That's where they get on the bus to go to school. And there's, you have the playground right there, all of that. But they really do. They just go through that stop sign and I mean go through it. And you have a camera on there, but it's so far down, by the time they get around to where that stop sign is, they're flying again.
Sure.
So it's, if someone could just take a look at the location of that camera, that speed camera, that might help them slow down enough to not go through that stop sign like that.
And I'm gonna be honest, we're not gonna have enough speed cameras. I think people complain we got too many already. But what I would say is that, they're effective where they're placed, okay? Is it gonna stop people from speeding? We know people slow down where the camera is and they speed back up. We know that exists. What we're trying to do is encourage people to slow down and change their behaviors, and just be responsible within the city, so that everyone is safer. So that's the goal of the program, and that's what we would like to do. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Citizens Academy graduates, I'll let them talk about their experience. Come on up, ladies. Yeah, come on. Now, your microphone's up here.
Good evening. My name is Robin, and I graduated from the Citizens Academy in 2015. I was in the very first class. I think that if you have the opportunity to participate in the class, please participate. You learn all facets of policing, not only from the officers, but from the criminal justice members. The classes are interactive, and the discussions are on policing, and you get to ask questions, and just the participation is great. Some of the classes, just to let you know, you get to visit the 911 call center, you get to find out about evidence collection and what the CSIs do, what the coroner's office does, what SWAT does. And as was stated, it is a 13-week course. And once you graduate, you do get to work with the officers as relates to the community. I'm sure most of you have seen us at the tables at various events helping out the officers. So it's a wonderful course, and please, please, if you get the opportunity to participate, do participate, and it's free. Okay?
My name is Cynthia. I graduated class number 9. I think it was in 2020 or 2021. I came to the Citizen Academy because I was new to the city and to the state of Maryland, and I wanted to know more about the city where I stay at. And so that's the reason I joined the class. And it is very informative, so it gives you the history of the City of Bowie's police, how they form, what their goals are, what they're trying to progress to, and also builds that relationship for the community to the officer. It gives you that. So instead of being a problem to the community, you're being a source or helpful to the community to help it grow. So as the city grows, then you grow with the city. A lot of the things that they do talk about, they do have stuff for kids online. Was one of the other services for the city, the county, the state has to offer for people that are in need. They do have that as well. And as she said, it's once you graduate, then you start helping out in various communities. So if you like to help out and you like working with people, then the Citizen Academy will be part of the group that you need to come and help with it to give back, if you like giving back to your community. Because as the community grows and we get older, then we need to teach our younger people about the community and keep it growing so our community can stay at its best. The other part I'm gonna talk about, I also worked with the Explorers. So if you like helping with kids and you can tolerate teenage kids and you have the patience for teenage kids, you need to come and help the Explorers, where I was looking for grown adults to help with them because as you said, it's a mentoring. Everybody can be a mentor. So if you have that compassion for kids, then come out on Thursday nights and help us with that because they go through police procedures, they go through how to recognize when they walk into a room, if they're out with their friends, kind of be situational awareness to see what's going on, how to say no if someone is trying to convince them to do drugs or do wrong or do a crime, then that builds their character up with that. So I encourage you, Citizen Academy and then also the Explorers to come out and be a part.
The age of the Explorers.
Ages of the Explorers, she said it was 12 to 20. 14 to 20? Yes, come out, and we're always looking for volunteers.
And the Citizens Academy, you have to be 18.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. Y'all get a glimpse of look. You know, I don't just get up here and make statements. You know, these ladies are a part of our family, and all the graduates are. And the bond and relationship, one of the things that we talk about all the time is that, and this is where we get real with those that go to the Citizens Academy, we all people just like the rest of you all. We got families, we got, you know, children, you know, we hurt, we have pains and sorrows just like everyone else. And I think that as we develop a relationship, and that's what we want to do, is have that bond with our community, because that's what's important. We're a part of this community. We're not separate from the community. And it's unfortunate that, you know, we have to, you know, talk about a critical incident that occurred. And that's why I want to make sure, you know, the point was made. That does not define this police department. What we do here tonight, this is what defines this police department. This is what we spend our work doing, day in and day out, and we work hard for this. All right, you all are important to us as our residents, and that's what we strive to do every single day. So, you know, we look forward to, you know, working with you all, coming out to your community events. You know, we get invited to community days, we show up to those things. That is what we do. Okay, and so, you know, it's important. If there are no other questions, I appreciate everybody coming out this evening. Hope everybody has a safe trip back home. Again, call us if you need us, okay? And make sure you take care of each other, all right? Be blessed. All right.